Imagine a disabled black teenage girl fighting every single day just to survive high school. Until one brutal attack by a billionaire's son explodes into a chain of events no one in America could have predicted. Veterans rush in, police swarm the scene, and when the case lands in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom, a truth is uncovered that shatters an entire family's power and exposes the dark secret behind the bully's cruelty. What happened next stunned the city and changed 2 lives forever. If this story grabbed your heart, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments which city or state in America you're watching from. The autumn wind swept across Westford High's front courtyard as 16-year-old Maya Thompson rolled her wheelchair toward the entrance. Her backpack sagged on one side, the zipper barely holding together. She kept her eyes low, hoping, praying, that maybe today would be different. Maybe today she wouldn't hear the whispers. Maybe today he wouldn't be there. But he was. Logan Pierce, the billionaire's only son, leaned against a polished black Escalade that his father had donated to the school security fleet. Blonde hair gelled back, varsity jacket half-zipped, expensive sneakers untied like he was too important to care. He watched her with that crooked grin that made her stomach twist. Well, he said, stepping forward. Westford's little charity case is here. Maya tried to keep moving. Her right wheel squeaked, a sound Logan loved imitating in the halls. The moment she reached the ramp, he kicked a pebble under her front wheel, blocking it. The students nearby didn't say a word. Some looked away. Others filmed quietly, as if cruelty had become entertainment. Logan crouched down, tapping her wheel. You ever think about walking? Might make things easier for the rest of us. Maya swallowed hard. Can you please move? I'm late. Oh, she speaks, Logan mocked. Must be a special day. He yanked her notebook from her lap, filled with sketches Maya had drawn during lunch breaks, and ripped it clean down the middle. Pages scattered like wounded birds. Maya froze. Her hands trembled, her throat burned, but she held her tears back. If she cried, he'd win. All morning, the harassment continued. Logan bumped her chair in the hallway, blocked her locker door with his foot, whispered insults loud enough for everyone to hear. By lunchtime, Maya's strength had worn thin. She pushed herself into a quiet corridor behind the gym, a place where sunlight barely reached, where she could breathe for just 1 minute. But Logan followed. There you are, he said, stepping into the dim alley. Thought you could hide? He grabbed the back handles of her wheelchair and shoved it. The wheels skidded. Maya gasped as she rolled helplessly down the uneven pavement. Before she could steady herself, Logan sprinted toward her and slammed his boot into the side of her wheelchair. The force flipped the chair. Maya hit the ground hard. Her palms scraped, her shoulder burned. She lay on her side, the world spinning, breath shaky, vision blurry. Logan walked around her like a predator circling prey. Look at you, he sneered. Pathetic. He stepped back, raised his leg again, and that's when it happened. A shrill whistle cut through the air. Logan froze. Maya blinked. A figure stood at the far end of the alley. Mr. Harris, the school's 68-year-old groundskeeper. Gray beard, patched jacket, hands trembling but determined. He blew the whistle again, this time longer. Then came the rumble, a deep, powerful vibration in the pavement. Maya lifted her head. From behind the maintenance building, 8 men emerged. Not students, not teachers, Veterans. Former U.S. Army Rangers, men who volunteered at the school for mentoring programs. They marched with quiet intensity, boots thumping, eyes locked on Logan. Their leader, Sergeant Cole Maddox, stepped forward, jaw tight, hands clenched. Logan stumbled backward. Wait, what are you doing? Stay back. Sergeant Cole didn't raise his voice. Didn't need to. You assaulted a disabled minor, he said. We saw everything. Two veterans lifted Maya gently, checking her arms, her breathing, her eyes. Another collected her broken wheelchair pieces from the ground. Logan tried to run. He didn't get far. 3 veterans blocked the exit like steel walls. Logan's bravado evaporated as one of them gripped his arm. Let go of me. My father's gonna. Your father, Sergeant Cole said coldly, will hear about this from the police. Sirens grew in the distance. Someone had already called 911. Maya, trembling, watched as Logan was handcuffed, his face pale, eyes darting desperately, unable to believe someone had finally stood up to him. You're going to regret this, Logan screamed at the veterans. Sergeant Cole leaned in calmly. No, son, you are. As the ambulance pulled in and officers stepped out, Maya closed her eyes, tears finally slipping free. Not from pain, but from the first feeling of protection she'd felt in years. She didn't know it yet. But this moment, this case, this boy, would soon land in Judge Frank Caprio's courtroom, where the truth waiting to unfold would shake the entire city. The ambulance doors slammed shut as Maya lay on the stretcher, her breathing still unsteady. Paramedics secured her straps, checking her vitals while Sergeant Cole stood beside the open door, one hand resting gently on the frame. His voice was low, steady, protective. You're safe now, Maya. We're going with you. Maya looked up at him. Her lips trembled, her voice barely a whisper. Why did you help me? Cole's expression softened. Because no child in this country, especially not one fighting every day just to move forward, deserves to be treated like that. Not on our watch. He climbed inside the ambulance with 2 other veterans, and the vehicle sped toward Westford General Hospital. Outside, Logan Pierce didn't look so invincible anymore. He was shoved into the back of a squad car, wrists cuffed, face red with rage and disbelief. Students who had once feared him now watched from a distance, their phones recording every second. The boy who had always walked like a king was now pinned behind glass, breathing hard, eyes burning with humiliation. Detective Nunes approached the window. You're being charged with aggravated assault on a disabled minor, she said calmly. Anything you say can be used against you. Logan banged his head back against the seat. I didn't do anything. She started it. Detective Nunes raised an eyebrow. The cameras disagree. He froze. His face drained. The school had security cameras behind the gym. For the first time, Logan Pierce understood what consequences felt like. By evening, news vans lined up outside the hospital. Reporters swarmed the entrance, microphones out, cameras rolling. Local billionaire's son arrested. Disabled student assaulted at Westford High. Veterans intervene in shocking attack. Inside the hospital waiting room, Maya's mother, Evelyn Thompson, held her daughter's trembling hand. She hadn't let go since she arrived. Tears hung in her eyes, but anger burned behind them. Anger that she had swallowed for years as Maya quietly endured cruelty. Dr. Lawson walked in, holding a clipboard. Your daughter is stable, he said gently. Just bruises and scrapes, no fractures, but she will need counseling. Trauma like this has a lasting impact. Evelyn nodded silently. Maya squeezed her mother's fingers. But then the door opened again. Sergeant Cole stepped in, removing his cap. The room seemed to steady around him. "Mrs. Thompson," he said, "I'd like to speak with you both." Evelyn straightened. "If you hadn't stepped in, if you hadn't been there, my daughter—" She couldn't finish the sentence. Cole shook his head. "Ma'am, I didn't do anything special. I just did what any decent man should do when a child is being hurt." But Maya looked at him differently, like he was the first person who had ever seen her without pity. Cole continued, "The police want Maya's statement when she's ready, and there's something else." He looked at Maya. "The district attorney is filing charges. Logan Pierce will be tried as an adult because of the severity of the attack." Evelyn gasped. Maya stared blankly at the wall. I never wanted him to go to jail. I just wanted him to stop hurting me." Cole knelt beside her wheelchair. "Sometimes justice isn't about punishment. It's about making sure no one else goes through what you went through." At that exact moment, outside the hospital windows, something unexpected happened. A helicopter thundered overhead. People rushed to the windows. Reporters whispered. Nurses paused mid-step. But Cole's face hardened. He recognized that sound. "That's the Pierce family's private chopper," he said. And he was right. Thomas Pierce, billionaire CEO and father of Logan, stormed inside the hospital, surrounded by lawyers in expensive suits. His voice boomed across the hall. "Where is my son? Who arrested him? Who authorized these charges?" Nurses shrank back. Security hesitated. The air shifted. Cole stepped forward. "I did." Thomas Pierce looked him up and down. "And who exactly are you?" Cole didn't blink. "A man who saw what your son did." Thomas laughed coldly. "My son wouldn't hurt a fly. That girl," he pointed toward Maya's room, "is probably exaggerating. You ruined his reputation. You ruined everything. Do you have any idea who I am?" Cole leaned in, voice razor sharp. A father who failed to teach his son the difference between privilege and decency. Thomas's jaw clenched. Around him, reporters caught every word. "That's enough," Thomas snapped. "I'll bury this entire department in lawsuits. My lawyers already filed motions. Logan is getting released tonight." Cole didn't flinch. Not this time. The judge assigned to the case isn't someone you can buy or intimidate. Thomas frowned. "Who?" Detective Nunez answered for him as she stepped forward. "Judge Frank Caprio." Silence. Even Thomas Pierce froze for a moment, because everyone in Rhode Island knew Judge Caprio. The compassionate judge who balanced empathy with firm justice. The one man no amount of money could bend. And somewhere in that tense hallway, Maya whispered to her mother, "Mom, I think everything is about to change." She was right, because by morning, the entire city would be watching as Logan Pierce, billionaire's son, untouchable bully, stood before Judge Frank Caprio. And nothing about that courtroom would go the way anyone expected. The next morning, the sun had barely risen when Providence Municipal Court became the most crowded building in Rhode Island. News trucks lined the street. Camera crews set up tripods on the sidewalk. Police formed barricades to hold back a swelling crowd of parents, veterans, teachers, and students who came to witness what many were calling the Pierce case. Inside, the marble floors echoed with hurried footsteps. Court officers moved briskly through the hallways, radios crackling. The tension was thick enough to taste. Judge Frank Caprio stepped into his chambers early, setting his coffee down gently before scanning the thick stack of incident reports, witness statements, and video transcripts laid on his desk. He paused at a photograph clipped to the first page. Maya Thompson, 16, wheelchair-bound, bruises visible along her arms, dried blood on her hand. Judge Caprio exhaled slowly. There was sorrow in his eyes, then resolve. A knock on the door. "Come in," he said. Detective Nunez entered with a folder. "Your Honor, the defendant is here. His father is demanding a private meeting." Judge Caprio gave a tired smile. "Demanding, is he?" "Yes, sir, extremely." Caprio closed the file calmly. "Well, you can tell Mr. Pierce this courtroom doesn't run on his schedule." Nunez smirked. Already did. In the crowded hallway, Thomas Pierce stood flanked by 3 attorneys. Logan, in a crisp suit far too expensive for his age, looked uneasy, his arrogance dimmed, but still flickering beneath the surface. Thomas snapped, "Where is this judge? My son should not be paraded like a criminal. We are taxpayers." A voice cut through the hallway. "Mr. Pierce." Everyone turned. Judge Caprio stood there, black robe draped over his arm, spectacles perched low on his nose. Thomas stepped forward. "Your Honor, this is outrageous. My son is a good boy. He was provoked, misled, framed." Judge Caprio held up his hand gently but firmly. "Mr. Pierce, your son is accused of brutally assaulting a disabled minor. You may defend him in the courtroom, not out here." Thomas's jaw tightened. "I expect a fair trial." The judge's eyes didn't blink. "You'll get far more than that. You'll get the truth." Before Thomas could reply, the bailiff announced, "Court is now in session." Inside the courtroom, rows of benches were packed. Veterans in uniform filled the left side, their posture straight, their eyes unblinking. Maya's classmates filled the center rows, some ashamed, some still shocked, most silent. In the front row sat Maya in her wheelchair, her mother beside her, holding her hand. When Logan was led in, whispers rippled across the room. He tried to avoid the veteran's eyes, especially Cole's. Judge Caprio sat adjusting his microphone. "This is case number 3184. State of Rhode Island versus Logan Pierce." The room fell silent. "Mr. Pierce," the judge continued, "you stand accused of aggravated assault, endangerment of a disabled minor, destruction of medical equipment, and harassment." Logan swallowed. His voice trembled. "Not guilty." Gasps fluttered through the courtroom. Judge Caprio nodded. "Very well. The court will hear evidence." The prosecutor, Ms. Hartley, rose. "Your Honor, the state will begin with video evidence." She motioned to the technician. A screen lowered. The footage began. The entire courtroom watched as Logan shoved Maya's wheelchair, watched him drag her behind the gym, watched him lift his leg, watched the wheelchair flip, watched Maya hit the pavement in pain. In the crowd, several students covered their mouths. One veteran clenched his fists. Even Logan couldn't look at the screen. Judge Caprio turned to the defense table. "Mr. Pierce, is this you in the video?" Logan hesitated. It's complicated." "Is it you?" the judge asked again, voice firmer. "Yes," Logan whispered. Thomas slammed his hand on the table. "He didn't mean it. She provoked him. She said things." Judge Caprio's voice cut like steel. "Sit down, Mr. Pierce." Thomas slowly sat, face dark, lips trembling with anger. Ms. Hartley continued, "Your Honor, the state would now like to call our first witness, Sergeant Cole Maddox." Cole stepped forward. He stood tall, posture rigid but respectful. "Sergeant," Ms. Hartley said, "tell the court what you saw." Cole's voice was deep, measured. I saw a child in a wheelchair being attacked. I saw fear in her eyes. I saw cruelty in his. And I saw something else. The room leaned in. I saw a boy who believed no one would stop him. Logan flinched. Cole continued, steady as stone. I stepped in because no adult, no father, no teacher, no human being should allow a child to suffer like that. Thomas Pierce rose again. Objection. He's attacking me personally. Judge Caprio looked directly at him. The only objections I'm hearing today are coming from your conscience, Mr. Pierce. Sit. The courtroom gasped. Cole finished his statement, then stepped aside. Next came more testimony. From students, from teachers, from Mr. Harris, the groundskeeper, his old hands shaking as he spoke of the whistle that summoned help. With each witness, Logan's confidence crumbled further. The weight of everything he had done finally pressed down on him, harder than any punishment he ever imagined. But then, something unexpected happened. Judge Caprio leaned forward. Before I make any ruling, he said, I want to hear from the victim, Maya Thompson, if you are ready. The courtroom held its breath as Maya's mother gently wheeled her forward. Maya's voice was soft, fragile, but clear. I don't want revenge, she said. I want understanding. I want to stop being afraid. I want him to know that what he did didn't break me. Her words hit the room like a tidal wave. Even Logan couldn't hide the sting in his eyes. But then she turned toward Judge Caprio. And I want justice, not money, not excuses. Just justice. Judge Caprio nodded slowly. You'll have it. He picked up his gavel. But before he spoke, a man barged through the courtroom doors. Everyone turned. The man was wearing an expensive suit, panting, eyes wild. Logan's mother. She screamed, Wait, stop the trial. There's something you all need to know about the night this all happened. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Judge Caprio raised his hand. Order, order. But one thing was already clear. The truth Maya thought she knew was about to get far, far more complicated. The entire courtroom froze as the woman in the navy blue suit stumbled forward, her heels clicking sharply against the marble floor. Her chest rose and fell with frantic breaths. Everyone recognized her instantly. Elaine Pierce, Logan's mother, the woman who almost never appeared in public, let alone in a courtroom. She clutched the edge of the defense table, her voice trembling. Your Honor, please, I need to speak. Judge Caprio studied her carefully. Mrs. Pierce, this is highly irregular. We are in the middle of sworn testimony. Elaine swallowed, wiped her eyes, and whispered, If you don't let me speak now, a terrible injustice will be done. The judge hesitated, then sighed. Approach the bench. Elaine stepped forward. Logan watched her, confused, terrified. Thomas Pierce scowled, gripping his tie so tightly his knuckles whitened. Something in his wife's face, some quiet rebellion, made him shift in his seat, like a man sensing an earthquake before anyone else feels the tremors. Judge Caprio leaned closer. Mrs. Pierce, I hope you understand the seriousness of interrupting a live proceeding. Her voice broke. I understand, Your Honor, and I accept whatever consequences come. But I cannot sit back and watch this proceeding unfold built on half a truth. The courtroom breathed as one. Judge Caprio motioned to the bailiff. Bring Mrs. Pierce a microphone. Elaine stepped toward the center of the courtroom, hands trembling, eyes glistening. She looked at Maya first, softly, painfully, and then at her own son, who shrank into a seat like a child cornered by shadows he never knew were there. "Your Honor," she began, voice heavy with years of silence. "The night Maya was attacked, Logan was not acting alone. A thunderbolt ripped through the room. Students gasped. Veterans exchanged sharp glances. Even Maya sat straighter, confusion tightening her brow. Thomas shot up from his seat. "Elaine, that's enough!" Judge Caprio slammed his gavel. "Mr. Pierce, sit down. One more outburst, and I will hold you in contempt." Everyone watched as Thomas slowly lowered himself, fury twisting across his face. Elaine continued, her words trembling but unstoppable. "Logan has become many things, Your Honor. Reckless, cruel, spoiled. I tried to guide him, but I failed in more ways than I can admit." Tears fell, but she didn't wipe them. But that night behind the gym, something else happened. She held up her phone. The prosecutor stepped forward. "What is this?" "A recording," Elaine said. "My son didn't know I accessed the home server last night. I found footage, security footage, from our garage." The bailiff took the phone to the technician. The screen lowered once more. A grainy video appeared. Logan, pacing their enormous garage hours before the attack. Thomas Pierce standing with him, arms crossed. Their voices echoed. "Thomas, you're letting that girl embarrass you at school?" "Logan, Dad, she's weird. Everyone stares at her." "Thomas, then put her in her place. Don't let her weakness become your weakness." The courtroom gasped collectively. Thomas jumped up again, roaring, "That video is illegal." Judge Caprio pointed the gavel at him. "Sit, immediately." Elaine's voice cracked. "I am tired, Thomas. Tired of you molding our son into the worst version of yourself." The video resumed. "Thomas, if that girl makes you look small, make her feel smaller. Do you understand me?" Logan, "Yes, sir." Maya's mother covered her mouth, tears spilling. Maya, trembling, clutched the armrest of her wheelchair. Logan buried his face in his palms, shaking now, not with anger, but shame. Cold, sharp, overwhelming shame. Ms. Hartley, the prosecutor, stepped forward, her voice firm. "Your Honor, this proves premeditation and parental coercion." The courtroom erupted with murmurs. Judge Caprio waited, absorbing every detail, every flicker of reaction. Then he asked quietly, "Mrs. Pierce, why show this now?" Elaine looked at Logan with heartbreaking sorrow. "Because my son is guilty, but not alone. Because I couldn't watch him be destroyed for following the path his father carved for him." Logan sniffed, tears dripping onto his suit. "Mom, I didn't want to hurt her. He made me feel like I had to." For the first time, his voice cracked with something human. Judge Caprio leaned forward, voice deep, calm, authoritative. "Logan, stand." Logan pushed himself shakily to his feet. "Did you attack Maya?" the judge asked. "Yes, sir," Logan whispered. "I did." "Did you intend to harm her?" Logan hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." "Did your father influence your decision?" Logan clenched his jaw, tears streaking his face. "Yes." The judge closed his eyes briefly. "Sit." Logan collapsed into his chair, exhaling shakily as if the truth itself stole the strength from his bones. But the drama wasn't over. Ms. Hartley turned to the judge. "Your Honor, the state now requests additional charges against Mr. Thomas Pierce for contributing to the delinquency of a minor, coercion, and obstruction of justice." Thomas exploded. "You can't charge me. You don't have the right." Judge Caprio raised his gavel again. "Officer, remove Mr. Pierce from the courtroom." The crowd erupted in cheers as two officers grabbed Thomas by the arms. He thrashed, shouting, "This city will regret this. You can't do this to me." Judge Caprio's voice sliced through the chaos. "Sir, the only person responsible for your downfall is the man screaming right now." They dragged Thomas out. The door slammed. Silence fell. Maya stared at Logan. Logan stared at the floor. Elaine sobbed quietly. Sergeant Cole whispered to a fellow veteran, "Justice finally has a pulse." Judge Caprio breathed slowly, preparing his next words. Words that would determine the fate of a boy, a family, and a community shaken to its core. But just as he prepared to speak, the courtroom doors swung open again. A tall man in a dark uniform entered. The chief of police. His eyes scanned the room, and his words sent a new shockwave across the courtroom. "Your Honor, new evidence has surfaced. Evidence that changes everything about what happened behind that gym." The courtroom erupted, because justice wasn't done yet. Not even close. The entire courtroom turned toward the tall figure standing in the doorway. Chief Raymond Holt, broad-shouldered, gray at the temples, a man known citywide for his integrity, walked forward with slow, deliberate steps. His boots echoed through the tense silence as officers instinctively straightened along the walls. Judge Caprio eyed him carefully. "Chief Holt, this is an unusual interruption. I assume you have a compelling reason?" The chief nodded once, firmly. "Yes, Your Honor. New surveillance footage was recovered this morning. Footage from the school's back service alley, an angle we didn't know existed." A murmur rippled across the room. Detective Nunez stepped closer, surprised. "Sir, we reviewed every camera." The chief opened the folder he carried. Not this one. It belonged to the city's sanitation department. A truck was parked behind the gym for maintenance. Its built-in rear camera recorded everything. He handed the USB drive to the technician. "Play the footage." The screen lowered again. The video flickered to life. The entire courtroom leaned forward and saw a version of events no one had witnessed before. The camera showed Logan dragging Maya's wheelchair behind the gym. But then, a second boy appeared. A classmate wearing a dark hoodie, face half hidden. He whispered something to Logan, who nodded nervously. The courtroom gasped. The prosecutor, Ms. Hartley, stepped closer. "Who is that?" Detective Nunez froze. "Oh, God. That's Tyler Reed." Tyler Reed. Not just any student, Logan's friend, and the son of Westford High's assistant principal. On screen, Tyler circled Maya like a vulture, laughing under his breath. Tyler. "Kick it harder, bro. She's not going to do anything." Logan. "I don't know. Maybe we should stop." Tyler shoved him. "Tyler, your dad told you to. Don't chicken out." Gasps erupted. Even Logan raised his hands to his mouth, horrified at himself. He had forgotten this moment, buried it beneath panic and guilt. Then the footage showed something else, something chilling. Tyler leaned down, grabbed Maya's broken wheel, and whispered in her ear, "No one is coming for you, cripple." Maya jerked in her seat, tears filling her eyes all over again. The veteran stiffened as if ready to charge, and then Tyler lifted his leg, preparing to kick Maya himself. But Logan stepped in front of him. Logan, "Stop! Don't touch her." Tyler, "Do it! She's nothing." Logan hesitated. Then Tyler shoved him again, forcing Logan off balance. Logan stumbled forward, his foot accidentally hitting the wheelchair harder than he intended. The wheelchair flipped. The moment that haunted Maya, the moment that enraged the entire city, was initiated by Tyler Reed. But Logan didn't stop him after that, and that truth weighed just as heavily. The video played on. Tyler, let's go before someone sees. Tyler sprinted out of the frame, leaving Logan frozen beside Maya's fallen body, shaking, scared, unsure. A boy swallowed by pressure, pride, and poison he was taught to swallow since childhood. Then Mr. Harris's whistle rang out. Logan panicked and ran out the opposite side of the alley, seconds before the veterans arrived. The screen went black. Silence. A painful, cracking silence. Maya looked crushed. Not because Logan was less guilty, but because the cruelty had roots deeper than she ever imagined. Judge Caprio removed his glasses slowly. This court, he said softly, has now seen the full truth. He turned to Logan. Mr. Pierce, I see a boy who made terrible choices. But I also see a boy pushed, manipulated, and molded by adults who failed him. Then he turned to the prosecutor. Ms. Hartley, issue a warrant for Tyler Reed immediately, on charges of aggravated harassment, attempted assault on a disabled minor, and fleeing the scene. Ms. Hartley nodded with satisfaction. Yes, Your Honor. Next, the judge addressed the courtroom. But let me be very clear. Just because another boy played a role does not absolve Mr. Pierce of responsibility. Pressure is not an excuse for violence. Logan wiped his eyes, shaking violently. I'm sorry. He whispered it so softly it barely reached the microphone. I'm so sorry. Maya stared at him. Her eyes filled not with forgiveness, not with hatred, but something heavier. The weight of finally being seen, truly seen, by the person who hurt her. Elaine Pierce cried silently in the front row. Sergeant Cole's eyes softened just a fraction, but before anyone could speak, one of Logan's attorneys stood up. Your Honor, given the new evidence, we request immediate dismissal of all charges. The courtroom erupted in disbelief. Maya's mother jumped to her feet. Dismissal? Are you insane? Veterans muttered angrily. Students shook their heads. Even the chief frowned. Judge Caprio lifted his gavel. One more outburst and I will clear the room. Everyone quieted. The attorney continued. The video clearly shows coercion by another student. Logan was pressured. He lacked full intent. Judge Caprio leaned forward, eyes sharp as a blade. Are you suggesting, he said slowly, that a boy's fear of disappointing a friend gives him permission to assault a disabled girl? The attorney opened his mouth, but the judge didn't let him speak. He slammed the gavel once, a thunderclap through the courtroom. Motion denied. Cheers erupted, but Judge Caprio raised a hand immediately. This is not a celebration. This is a search for justice. He looked directly at Logan. Mr. Pierce, someone influenced you, but you raised your foot. You ignored a girl's cries. You allowed cruelty to live in your shadow. Logan bowed his head and cried silently. Judge Caprio continued, voice heavy but calm. I am not here to destroy a life. I am here to rebuild one, and rebuild a community that failed not only Maya, but you. Everyone leaned forward. The final verdict was coming. But before the judge could speak, a soft voice echoed from the victim's table. Your Honor. It was Maya. Her voice shook, but her spirit didn't. Before you decide anything, can I speak to Logan directly? The courtroom gasped. Even Judge Caprio was taken aback. He gestured gently. You may. Maya rolled her wheelchair forward, closer, closer. until she stopped just 3 feet from Logan. Logan lifted his red, swollen eyes. Maya held his gaze. And then, in a trembling voice filled with more courage than the entire courtroom combined, she said, "You hurt me, Logan. But I want you to hear what I have to say before the judge sentences you." The courtroom leaned in. Judge Caprio leaned in. Even Logan leaned in, breath shaking. What Maya said next would change every single heart in that courtroom and reshape the fate of a boy, a girl, and a city searching for justice. And her words would begin in the 6th and final part. Maya breathed in slowly, steadying herself. The courtroom was silent, so silent that even the fluorescent lights overhead seemed to hum more quietly. Logan sat across from her, shoulders shaking, eyes swollen and red. She looked at him for a long moment. "Logan," she said softly, "you hurt me more than you'll ever understand. You made me afraid to come to school. You made me feel small, weak, invisible." Logan lowered his head, ashamed. "But today," Maya continued, "I realized something. Your actions didn't start with you. They started long before you were born. In the things you were taught, the expectations shoved on your shoulders, the kind of strength you were told to show." She swallowed, tears gathering. "I can forgive a boy who was broken by someone else. But I cannot forgive the choices you made. Only you can make things right." Logan's voice cracked. "I want to. I swear, I want to fix this. Tell me how." Maya sighed deeply. "You don't fix this for me. You fix it for the next girl who looks different, for the next kid in a wheelchair, for anyone you ever judged." She rolled back slightly, giving him space. Judge Caprio watched her with profound admiration. "Thank you, Maya." He turned to Logan. "Mr. Pierce, stand." Logan rose unsteadily, wiping his face. Judge Caprio folded his hands. His voice was calm, heavy, but impossibly humane. "This court has seen cruelty, but it has also seen courage. It has seen a boy influenced by the worst examples, and a girl strengthened by the best qualities of humanity. The law demands accountability, but justice demands transformation." Everyone leaned in. Even the veterans sat straighter. Judge Caprio continued. "Logan Pierce, for the charges of aggravated assault, harassment, and destruction of medical equipment, this court sentences you to 9 months juvenile rehabilitation, mandatory anger counseling, 300 hours of community service, specifically at rehabilitation centers for disabled youth, and a full public apology to Maya Thompson and the Westford community." Maya's mother exhaled sharply, tears rolling down her cheeks. Elaine Pierce burst into silent sobs, her hands covering her mouth. But Judge Caprio wasn't done. "Additionally," he said, turning toward the officers, "an investigation into the actions of Mr. Thomas Pierce will move forward immediately. Wealth does not excuse criminal influence." Thunderous applause erupted from the benches. Veterans pounding their fists in approval, students cheering, parents wiping tears. The judge raised his hand again. "Order, please." When silence returned, Caprio delivered the most unexpected part of the ruling. "And one more requirement," he said. "Logan, you are to meet with Maya once every 2 weeks in supervised restorative sessions. Not to apologize, but to understand, to listen, to learn the impact of your choices directly from the person they hurt." Logan swallowed. His voice shook. "Yes, Your Honor, I'll do whatever it takes." Then something happened no one expected. Maya extended her hand, not for forgiveness, not for friendship, but for a beginning. Logan stared at the hand, stunned. After a long moment, he took it. A quiet gasp spread across the courtroom. It wasn't reconciliation. It wasn't redemption. It was something more profound. A broken boy choosing to grow. A wounded girl choosing to rise. Judge Caprio stood. This court is adjourned. He struck the gavel. The echo filled the room like the closing note of a long, painful song finally finding harmony. As the courtroom emptied, Sergeant Cole approached Maya with a soft smile. "You okay, kid?" Maya nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." Cole turned to Logan, who stood frozen, unsure, lost. But something in Cole's stern eyes softened just a little. "You start fresh today, son. Don't waste it." Logan nodded shakily. "I won't." Outside, the crowd parted as Maya rolled toward the exit, sunlight pouring over her like a spotlight. Logan watched her go, a look of determination growing in his eyes. Determination to become someone worthy of the mercy he had received. And as the veteran saluted her, as reporters recorded her name, as a city watched a girl rise above hatred, one thing became clear. This was not just the end of a case. It was the beginning of a legacy where justice was not just punishment, but transformation, and where a disabled black girl named Maya Thompson taught an entire city what real strength looks like. If this courtroom story hit you right in the heart, don't leave without showing some love. Hit that like button, smash subscribe, and drop a comment telling me which U.S. state you're watching from. More jaw-dropping, emotional American courtroom stories are coming up next. You won't want to miss them.